Okay, in this presentation, I am presenting on the topic res sub judice and res judicata. Here we have to see section 10 for res sub judice. It means the stay of suit. And section 11 for res judicata. Here now the basic provisions. Here the doctrine of res judicata. It differs from res sub judice in two aspects. That is, yeah. At first, we have to see the basic distinction between the res sub judice and the res judicata. Here, number one. Here, res judicata applies to a matter as judicate affirms. Res judicata. Here, the res judicata, it is applied on the matter, on the subject matter, which is already decided, which is already adjudicated. Here, but the res sub judice applies to a matter pending trial. That is the sub judice. Yeah, but the res sub judice applies to a matter, applies to a subject matter in which the pending trial, that is the pending proceedings before the court or before the authority. Here, that is the number one basic distinctions between the res sub judice and res judicata. And number two, you see, res judicata bars the trial of a suit or an issue in which has been decided in a former suit. Yeah. The res judicata, it bars, that is the prevents, it prohibits the trial of a suit or trial of a matter whichever decided in the former suit. That is, yeah. The res judicata, it prevents, it bars the trial of a matter or suit which has been already decided in a former suit. That is, in a previous suit. That is, but the res sub judice bars trial of a suit which is pending decisions in a previously instituted suit. But the res sub judice, it prevents, it bars the trial of a suit which is pending in the previously instituted suit. Here, this two basic difference with the res sub judice and res judicata. You have already known about this. Then you can then only you can go the provisions of this sections. That is, here. Now the objects of sections are tens. That is object of section 10. Yeah, there is the res sub judice. There is the stay of suit. Section 10 provides about this. Yeah. Now the object of the contained in Section 10, that is the res sub judice, is to prevent the courts of concurrent jurisdictions from simultaneously jurisdictions from simultaneously entertaining and adjudicating upon the two federal litigations in respect of the same cause of action, the same subject matter, and the same relief. Here, the ambition of Section 10 is to prevent whatever the simultaneously and federally uh, litigations of the same subject matter, it must be prevented. That is, in the court proceedings. That is, that means on the same subject matter, there cannot be two trials in two different courts. That is, that's why its ambition is to prevent the multiplicity of the proceedings. It is. Yeah. Now the policy of law is to confine a plaintiff to one litigation, thus obviating the possibility of two contradictory verdicts by one and the same court in respect of the same relief. This section intends to protect a person from multiplicity of proceeding and to avoid a conflict of decisions. Yeah. The ambition of Section 10 is to encourage the one litigations and to prevent the multiplicity of proceedings and to sustain in one verdict, in one subject matter, in one disputed matter, in one issue. That is, and to avoid the conflict of decisions. Here, this is the basic objects of the Section 10. Now, the conditions of this applicability, you see. Number one is there must be two suits, that is, one previously instituted and the other subsequently instituted. Yeah, there must be two suits. One is previously instituted and one must be subsequently instituted. Yeah. Number two, the matter in issue in the subsequent suit must be directly and substantially in issue in the previous suit. Now, the matter in issue, whatever instituted in the previous suit, it must be directly and substantially issued in the previous suit, whatever instituted in the subsequent suit. That is the in previous suit and subsequent suit, whatever the matter in issue, it must be directly and substantially in issue with each other. Here, now the number three, that is both the suits must be between the same parties or their representatives. Now, regarding the parties, here, and both the suits, that is the previous suit and the subsequent suit, it must be between the same parties or their representatives. Here, and the number four, that is the previously instituted suit must be pending in the same court in which the subsequent suit is brought, or in any other court in India, or in any court beyond the limits of India, established or continued by the central government or before the Supreme Court. Now, this pending suit may be in the same court, if the parties they have filing more than one litigation, or it may be in different courts which were established by the central government or by the Supreme Court. That is, yeah. In these cases, this section 10, it is res sub judice principles will be applied. That is, with the ambition of to prevent the multiplicity of proceedings and to avoid the conflict of judicial decisions. That is, here, the court in which the previous suit is instituted must have jurisdictions to grant relief claim in the subsequent suit. And what about the relief claim in the subsequent suit? Yeah, the previous suit, the court of the previous suit, this must be competence to grant such relief. That is, yeah, the competency of the court must be necessary. And the number 6 here, such parties must be litigating under the same title in the body suit, and such parties must be litigating under the same title in body suits. That is, here, now the nature and scope. It is this here, after this, we got the clear concept of the section 10, that is the res sub judice. Now, this section 11, it provides about the res judicata. Yeah, nature and scope of the res judicata. Yeah, you see, section 11 of the Civil Procedure Code embodies the doctrine of res judicata, or the rule of conclusiveness of a judgment as to the points are decided either of fact or of law, or of fact and law. In every subsequent suit between the same parties, it annexed that once a matter is finally decided by a competent court, no party can be permitted to reopen it in a subsequent litigation. Yeah, its ambition is that it is based on the conclusiveness of the decisions, conclusiveness of its judgments. Whatever a matter in issue, it has already been decided by the court. Here, no party can be permitted to reopen it. That is, here, in the absence of such a rule, there will be no end to litigations, and the parties would be put to constant trouble, harassments, and expenses. Here, without the provisions of this res judicata, here, the parties they may be trouble or harassments and expenses by multiplicity of proceedings. That is, yeah. The principle is also founded on justice, equity, and good conscience, which require that a party who has once succeeded on an issue should not be harassed by multiplicity of proceedings involving the same issue. Yeah. The ambition of res judicata is that once a party is succeeding in a litigation, this party should not be harassed by the defeated parties by instituting the multiplicity of proceedings. It is, yeah. Once a matter is already conclusively decided by the court, it must be recognized, it must be accepted by the parties. That is the basic object of res judicata provided under section 11. Yeah. Now the object of section 11, you see. Yeah. The doctrine of res judicata is based on three maxims. That is, you see. Yeah. Nemo defet bis vexare pro una it idem causa. It means no man should be vexed twice for the same cause. Yeah. For the same cause. Yeah. Nobody can be prosecuted two times. That is. Yeah. No man should be vexed twice in the same cause. That is. Yeah. And number two, interest republicae would shed penis litia. That is. It is in the interest of the state that there should be an end to litigation. And secondly, it is in the interest of the states that there should be an end to litigations. It is based on the interest of the states. That is, that there should be an end to litigations. That the burden of the court must be minimized. That is, and number C, there res judicata pro veritate occupitur. It means a judicial decisions must be accepted as correct. A judicial decision must be accepted as correct. And whatever the court or whatever the magistrate judge, they will give judgments on a matter in issue. It must be accepted as correct. That is the object of the sections 11 res judicata. Now the conditions of applicability, you see. Here, number one, the matter directly and substantially in the subsequent suit or issue must be the same matter which was directly and substantially in issue, either actually or constructively in the former suit. Here, whatever the matter in issue, whatever the disputed facts, it must be directly in and substantially in issue in the previous suit. That is, and the second, the former suit must have been a suit between the same parties or between the parties under whom they or any of them claim. Yeah. Now the former suit must have been a suit between the same parties who claim regarding this matter and issue. Whatever they have been asserted or whatever they have been denied with each other. And number three, such parties must have been litigating under the same title in the former suit. Yeah. Such parties must have been litigating under the same title in the former suit. And number four, the court which decided the former suit must be a court competent to try the subsequent suit. Yeah. The competency of the court must be necessary. Whichever decided in the former suit by the court, this court must have the competency to entertain such a matter in issue. Yeah. Now the last conditions, the matter directly and substantially in issue in the subsequent suit must have been heard and finally decided by the court in the former should. Here, whatever the matter directly and substantially issue in the subsequent should must have been heard. Hearing must have been taken by the court and finally decided by the such competent court. Yeah, the hearing must be necessary. The parties must have been heard. The hearing must have been taken by the competent court, and based on this hearing of the parties, yeah, they finally decided this matter and issue by the competent court. Here, under these conditions, here the doctrine of res judicata, it will be applicable if the matter and issue arises. It is here. After this, we got a clear concept of both the doctrines or res sub judice and the res judicata. I think we got the clear concept. Okay, that's all.